of coffee for the working man. A swig of coffee for Joe Hendry, man. I thought that the best thing about Impact this week was Joe by far. Um, I thought he was probably the most over guy at Under Siege. I think he had a great week, a great weekend, and it is probably time for TNA to maybe get behind this guy. He's always had a lot of talent, but I think the big question about Joe was his in-ring work there? Is his in-ring work at a main event level? And I think that's a fair question to ask. And I haven't seen him have that spectacular match. He likes to do a lot of comedy in his stuff, and like the comedy stuff doesn't get over in the main events, and that's been tough. Like I was when I was finishing up, or I was watching Under Siege last night after when you guys were all in bed, and watching his match, and I was like, man, I think they need to do a run with Moose and Joe Hendry, and then I remembered that they already did a run with Moose and Joe Hendry. And it was pure comedy, and they put like goggles on Moose and making him fucking dance during the match and all this stuff. And I was like, man, they have wasted a lot of good time with Joe, making him an undercard comedy act when really like he's got a lot of Eli Drake in him. LA Knight. He really does. He's got that, I think if WWE were to take him, he'd probably go pretty far in that company because his act is tailor-made for what WWE likes to do. And so I think it is probably time for TNA to go ahead and get behind him. I know Bully Ray, which you guys know my opinion on him a lot of times, but he isn't always wrong. Said it's time to put the strap on Joe Hendry. I don't know about that, but I think it is time to make this guy into an upper tier main event act, which means that he's going to have to like do a better job of mixing in his comedy with his with being serious. Like, can this guy fire up and be a serious guy? Can he fire up and whoop somebody's ass? Like, the guy's got a legitimate shooting background. He really does. He's had some like he's been in like MMA and stuff like that. He is advocating for himself to be on Bloodsport, and Josh Barnett probably won't take him because he's not serious enough. The guy's got to be more serious. That doesn't mean he can't be funny. He can. But he's got to do a better job of mixing it. It's got to be a better balance. He has to be more serious than he is funny. And his matches need to have more of a serious tone, meaning no breakdancing and like, how we put the goggles on Moose, the VR goggles, and it was making Moose dance and shit like that. It was stupid. It was. I mean, it was funny. Like, it got some laughs, but it was mostly stupid. And nobody wants to see stupid in their main events. They don't. So, but let me look it up. Joe Hendry's song, "We Believe in Joe Hendry," is on the charts right now. Let's see. It's rising up the music charts, and it's at the top of the UK charts. So you can order the song right now. And I was trying to see what I can't find out words. So as of yesterday, it was number 4 in singles downloads charts, number 6 on the singles charts. This is from official charts, and I believe, must be UK. So Hendry mentioned that is streaming 80,000 times per day. You can also get it on YouTube, and it's on Spotify and Apple, and iTunes and all that stuff. And I think that's awesome. Like, I guess the big question is this: he's had this song for years. What took him so long to put it on iTunes? Like, he could have had this done a long time ago, but it's cool that it's happening now. He's got a lot of crossover appeal, and I could see him getting himself on some of the music shows. And it is time for Access and Anthem to get behind the guy and put him on a lot of their music shows on Access and stuff like that. So good for Joe Hendry. I'm real happy for the guy. I've always liked Joe. Even when he was I liked his indie stuff that he was doing, because he was kind of like, around the same time that Matt Hardy was the original meme wrestler, Joe Hendry was out there too. and he was doing a lot of stuff in the UK, and was getting himself over, singing parody songs and doing all that stuff. And then the bell rings and it's like a very basic match, but he was getting himself over that way, and I thought that was really cool. And I was and then when TNA brought him in, or Impact Wrestling, when they brought him over to Impact, he was doing a lot of cool stuff there with him and Grado and Winter, but it was very much like opening card comedy act. He took off for a little bit and went to Ring of Honor, and I don't think that Joe Hendry works well for Ring of Honor. I don't think that his style was good for them, and it was very like opposite of what Ring of Honor does, which is probably why they brought him in. And it was also pandemic era, so and Ring of Honor was on its ass at the time. So it just was not work. It was just not working out for him. But I think right now you got a little bit of lightning in a bottle with Joe, and we'll see if it sustains long term. But they really need to get behind the guy. They got to do something, because that concert that he did at Impact this week was incredible. It really, like, I've never seen an Impact audience kind of fully invest in an act in real time the way that they did for Joe Hendry in Las Vegas. I mean, the pro looked great, because that's a concert hall. It's a concert theater. And he's there in the middle of the ring, and he's playing his guitar, and he's singing those songs. And then when he hits the, can you please get fired? And everybody starts singing along with him. I was like, man, they got something. They got something. And it's also the same week that his song is hitting the charts. And then you see him in the crowd, and they're singing along with him, and they're just fully into him. And then he comes out last night on Under Siege and was the most over guy on the show. Most over guy on the show. It's time. It's time. They got to get behind him. That doesn't mean make him world champion right away, but they got it. They got to do something with him. They really do. And Io's in the chat. Says, what's up? What's up? I agree. I see LA Knight vibes with Hendry. Advertise him as a star. Yeah, absolutely. Like he has to be kind of one of your top stars going forward. He really does. And if his in-ring work isn't there at the main event level, you got to put him in there with people that can, carry him a little bit. And then you can have bells and whistles, a little bit of gaga, but we got to get to the point where, he is a serious contender to Moose, and we main event a show with him and Moose, and it's not complete comedy. We can do comedy stuff getting to there. A Moose plays a good idiot. So does Eddie and Brian. We can do comedy stuff getting to there, but at some point they got to get heat on Joe, and he has to fire up and say, I'm coming to kick your ass. You know what I mean? And he's got to mean it. Let's get some blood on this guy. Let's do something serious with him. And we can still do parody songs. We can still do some of that stuff, but we need to get some fire on this guy. And I think that there's money in a main event run for Joe Hendry easily. I just I don't know. I was just blown away by him this week with everything that he's doing with the song charting, and with his concert that he did on Impact, which was like the best thing on the show by far. And then of course his match last night with Zachary. It was just like a basic match. There wasn't really much to it, but it was a good match. But what made it is the crowd was just super into him. And then his promo before the match was money, man. It was money. It was like old school pro wrestling, like money. And I think we got to be careful. Nobody tag Triple H in his videos, because Triple H is going to take him. He will. He will. Oh, look, the guy is tailor made for WWE. He's 6'2", 250 pounds. He can sing. He can play guitar, and he can work a little bit. He's funny. He's charming, and he's handsome as shit. It's only a matter of time before WWE takes him. So they need to make some money with him before he leaves. But yeah, I was real happy with him this week, and I'm happy for him.